Welcome, you are at the CCC, where there are no outside issues. My name's Anthony. I'm an addict and an alcoholic, another bozo on the bus, and I care about you. Our intention is to hold and inspire better spaces for more people. You know what? Actually, I'm 2 lines ahead. Louis is not here today, so we're going to start that last bit over. Each week, we will provide and create better spaces for more people in recovery to engage in conversation. I just did what he did the last time. All right. You know what's great? Can you shut the music off? Jesus Christ. God, it's like black. Okay, let me tell you what's happening right now. On the way here, so I took an Uber to come to the studio today, and I was practicing the script over and over and over again, the poor Uber driver. And then I came here, and all the lights are on, and I totally lost it. So we're going to do this without the loud-ass music in my ears. So each week we'll provide and create a brave space where we can engage in conversations of topics of recovery. Our intention is to hold and inspire better spaces for more people in recovery by tackling issues sometimes used to separate us. And now the disclaimer. The views and thoughts expressed on At the CCC are ours alone. We do not represent anyone but ourselves. The material and information shared here is for general information purposes only. In other words, we're just a couple of friends behind a mic here to entertain you. I did the last part.
You stuck that. Yeah, you stuck that.
Oof, gosh. Okay, well, so for folks watching and listening, as you see, Louis is not here. He is not feeling well. Likely COVID. Likely maybe the doxy's not working. I'm not sure. But he's not here today. And so that being said, our friend Jose, who was scheduled to be here and did show up, is here today, and I'm really excited to have him on the show. He's one of my closest friends. He's one of the people that I go to whenever things are coming up for me. I'm like, hey, Jose, can we have some lunch? Which is usually code for I am having a panic attack. So Jose, how are you?
I'm good. I was not told that the person who sits here normally has COVID.
He doesn't have COVID. I'm just talking shit. Yeah.
I'm good. Yeah, just trying to stay warm on this, rainy day.
I know we're both wearing hoodies. You know what this looks like? My hoodie looks like a Snuggie. That's what I thought. It looked like a Snuggie. I'm not wearing a Snuggie. Although maybe we should start wearing Snuggies on the show.
You don't know if this is you want me to turn around?
Yeah. You have like the pockets for your remote. So before we start, we ask all of our guests to answer 3 questions. Okay. So you have 3 minutes to answer 3 questions.
Okay.
And those questions are, first question, where are you from?
And then this is like, where am I from? It's not like the loaded, like, where are your parents from question.
No.
You know what I'm talking about.
I'm like, where are you really from?
I know. Yeah. So I'll give you.
Do I detect an accent? Is that Mexican?
Guatemalan. I'll give you both answers that I give people. So I'm SF native, born and raised, born in General Hospital, which I guess is Zuckerberg now, and grew up here my entire life. But my parents, and I guess culturally, I am Guatemalan, full blown.
Full blown Guatemalan.
Full blown, as far as like my parents are concerned, their grandparents, their great grandparents. Yeah.
That's so cool. I knew that. I don't know why I had that reaction. But maybe it's not for me. It's for people listening.
I think you forget.
No, I don't. Oh, because of the Mexican thing?
No, you knew.
No, I did know. And that actually was delivered poorly because I was like trying to say like, instead of saying, do you speak Spanish? I was going, do you speak Mexican? It was really bad. Let's move on. I know. Yeah. Oh, that's how we're starting? That's how you start recording me?
So wait, I get 3 minutes for that question?
And no. That was just for your first question.
Oh, shit. Okay.
Yeah. So thank you for that one. It's okay. It's fine. We are rated E for explicit whenever you listen to podcasts.
I don't think that's what E stands for.
Yeah, isn't that what E stands for?
Isn't E for everyone?
No. No.
Oh.
E on Spotify and on most podcast platforms is for explicit. Yeah.
That makes more sense.
It better not be. E for everyone is gaming. Yeah. You're a gamer.
I am.
Yeah.
I think that rings a bell, yeah.
Yeah. So second question is, why did you get sober?
So I feel like that's always like a two-parter for me. The first part is like what brought me into the rooms of recovery.
Yeah.
And the short answer is I was just trying to show a lot of people in my life that like I was making an effort when the reality was that I really wasn't. It was more for them.
Yeah.
I just wanted some lifelines back.
Yeah.
I wanted people to answer my texts again. But so that's what brought me into the rooms. But I think what actually got me to listen was I hit this like emotional bottom a couple months in, where how specific am I allowed to get?
I'm going to cut you off when your minute's done.
Oh, okay.
No, go ahead.
So I hit this emotional bottom where basically like suicidal ideation started to percolate.
When it starts to get really dark.
Right. Because there's like fun dark and then there's like
of course.
sad dark.
There's like sitting at home listening to Lana Del Rey dark, and then there's looking up the price of guns. Dark.
Which I used to sell guns.
No way.
Yes, I worked at Big Five in Daly City and we sold guns.
Get the fuck out of here. I'm just learning, ladies and gentlemen.
Can't you tell
Day
that
and
I
then
used
friends.
to sell
Yes. I had no idea.
Yeah, so that's basically the bottom that got me to go like I really gotta like get sober because I don't trust drunk Jose or high Jose to like make any like decisions.
You know, I love that you're sharing that because one of the motivators for me behind staying sober is that I am pretty certain I know that if I go out again, I'm going to kill myself. Because the last time I went out, like those thoughts were louder than ever. And like, it was, it was by the grace of God that I didn't do anything ridiculous in my opinion for myself, you know?
Well, those voices that you're talking about, I think that's interesting because I feel like I had maybe heard those voices inside of me.
Yeah.
But when I'm talking about my specific bottom, it's when I believe those words.
Right.
That was the first time where I'm like, oh, I do think this is something that's...
Oh, right. Yeah, for sure. It's like, and you know, one of the things that I feel like, and then we'll move on to the last question, and then we'll come back to this one, is, so one of the things is, you know, a lot of people will say like, I'll never do this, I'll never do that, and like, I'll be able to control it. But we are like totally different people when we drink or use, right? So it's like, yeah, maybe sober you wouldn't like unalive yourself. Is that how we have to say it now? Oh, you know,
if we want to continue getting monetized, yes, or whatever.
Well, we're not monetized.
I know that. I know that.
Yeah, we don't.
Listen.
We don't do that. Yeah. So, but right. So the person who says I won't kill myself or I won't do anything ridiculous is sober, and then when you actually drink or use, you're not the same person. You know. So thank you for sharing that. Like that's certainly something that I relate to. Not me not turning my sound off. Did you hear that, Jose? I'm sorry.
I did.
Yeah, if you're in the studio, turn your phone on. So, no, you're fine. You're fine. Okay, so let's go to the last question. And the last question is, what is your relationship to your higher power?
You know what's funny is I feel like you asked me this like a couple weeks back, and then I completely forgot about it until I showed up here. That you had asked me that specific question.
Yeah.
And the reason I always have like such a weird like reaction when anyone asks me that is because
you're dramatic.
They don't know that. It feels so personal sometimes.
It is, yeah.
Like the whole spirituality, higher power stuff when it comes to the rooms. I feel like it's like if someone like were to ask me like, or you like, when do you brush your teeth? Because I'm like, I know when I brush
You're
my
like,
teeth.
I don't brush my teeth.
Well, but I'm saying like, I know when I do it. I know how I do it, but that's for me.
Sure.
So it's always weird to be like, well, this is how I...
Yeah.
So my relationship with my higher power specifically, I think it's less about conception anymore. I think I spent a lot of years in the beginning trying to figure out what it looked like.
Yeah.
Now it's really more about the feeling. Or as the kids would say, vibes.
The vibes.
Is that what they say now?
Yeah,
right?
yeah, the God vibes.
The God vibes, right? So it's really about where I feel and hear my higher power.
Okay.
So that's, I think, my relationship specifically is where I see it the most.
Right.
But I think just from like a general standpoint, I feel like I unabashedly love my higher power.
Oh, me too.
And that's not something I say out loud often.
Yeah.
And I don't know if that's something we'll get into later.
Yeah, I mean, that's a very nice segue to introducing today's topic. So today's topic is reclaiming your spirituality. And I thought to bring my friend Jose onto the show today because he has a very, I think in my opinion, a very inspired way and a very relatable way of looking at a conception of a power that's greater than himself. And so that's today's topic. So as usual, if anything resonates with you, if you have a thought you want to share, send us a comment and we'll read it and we'll respond. But until then, so yeah, let's just jump right in, Jose.
Do it.
Yeah, let's do it.
Let's do it.
Okay. So I don't know. I don't, just as an aside, I don't know when I started doing this, but a couple months ago,
I'll tell you.
Well, first off, Louis, there's something about when I'm like with Louis and maybe his spirit is here, but whenever I'm around him, I want to shimmy when I talk to him. I'm always like, yes, like I've never been that person to shimmy. And every time like I talk to Louis, I feel like shimmy. I think it's probably like Minnie, his alter ego. Yeah, his alter ego.
Do you think it's Minnie or do you think Louis is the alter ego?
You know, it's really hard to tell. I think it's really hard to tell. Maybe that should be a question for Louis. Louis, if you're listening, let us know.
He's not listening.
He's not listening. Yeah. He's like, okay. He's like, he's sick. Oh, he said hater. I love you.
Hey, Louis.
So let's talk about spirituality. So I love that you said you love your God. Because I was born and raised Catholic and I was very fearful of God. In fact, like one of the funny stories that I tell people is that like when I learned, I don't even know if I should share this, but when I was a kid and I learned how to masturbate, I was told, hold on, these are two parts.
We're E, don't worry. We're
we're E for explicit for everyone.
So you can share.
Okay, well, so there's two parts here. One of the things my mom said to me when I was a kid was whenever it rained, she said to me, yeah, did I ever tell you this?
No,
so my mom says
I'm
whenever
ready.
it rained, my mom would say to me, the reason why it's raining is because you lie and it makes the Virgin Mary cry. I think like I was like 5. I know. So every time it rained, I'm like, fuck, how does she know? You know? And then when I was a kid, I was born and raised Catholic. And so when I was a kid and I learned how to masturbate, and I was told that that was a sin, right? So every single time, my poor little me, every single time I so much as touched myself, I would cry and pray to God that I wouldn't get punished. And imagine being like a little kid thinking every time it fucking rains, you've upset the Virgin Mary, and every time you fucking touch your wiener, you're going to go to hell. Can you imagine that? Like, that's just that's like the kind of stress.
It's terrifying.
It is terrifying.
And for anyone not in the Bay Area, it is raining right now.
It is raining right now.
Just for some context. I don't think I knew you grew up Catholic. I was Catholic.
Of course we're Catholic.
Right.
Well, of course we were.
So I guess, okay, so yeah, I'll talk about that. So
Yeah.
I also was grew up Catholic.
Okay.
And when I say grew up Catholic, I mean like church every Sunday. Nuns from our local church would come and gather all the kids, right? So they would pick us up and I would love getting picked up. They would bring us to church. I got to be altar boy one time in my life.
Oh, wow.
It was probably,
They were like, you suck.
No,
more.
I bet you it's probably in the top 10 of my parents' like most cherished memories. Of
I believe it.
Because I got to wear the garb. And I did that little gay thing where you like twirl.
Spin around.
I twirled and when I had my little like costume. It's not a costume.
It's not a costume.
But you know what I mean? The little black and white thing. I wore that. I didn't get to do the bell. I was so jealous. But so yeah, grew up Catholic, first communion, and then what was I going to say? Teenage years.
Yeah.
The disillusionment started.
Oh, yeah.
You know, when you start.
Oh, yeah.
When you start,
did you do confession, confirmation, like communion, confirmation?
I did communion, got all my toys at my party, and I stopped.
Yeah.
No, but it was because in middle school is when I started making friends who were not Latino, not Catholic.
Right.
So like other cultures, and I was exposed to other things. And then obviously, like, I just started asking questions because that's what children do. It's like, bah, 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 bah.
Yeah.
And my parents were like, oh, yeah, no, we believe in this God and they believe in that God. And I was like, are they going to hell because they believe in that God? And they were like, yes. And I was like, ooh, that feels wrong to me. So I remember that being the conversation that kind of made me go, no.
You know what mine was?
What?
There was a lot of things. So part of it was, what this sounds like is we were radicalized because I remember I remember thinking that, oh God, I haven't talked about this stuff in forever, but so I remember when I was in honors bio and I was learning about like turgor, so like plants and like what makes plants, do plant things. Much good that class did for me. But I remember learning about like the science of plants, right? And remember thinking to myself, wait a minute, why aren't they talking about God?
Oh.
And I was like, wait a minute, this is a lie. Why aren't they talking about God? God is the reason. Like there's a spirit in the plant. Like it was just, and I don't, oh gosh. Anyway, so I can just remember feeling naive on one end. So I was disillusioned, right? I had friends who were like atheists, whose parents were atheists, or I had friends whose parents were like Wiccan, or like anyway, so they're like tarot reading and all this other stuff. And then The Craft came out, which I was like, oh my God, what's The Craft? Do you remember The Craft? Where like literally every gay boy wanted to be Nancy.
No. Can we call the Four Corners later?
Yeah, we'll do it later. Okay. Manon. So I just remember being a kid and like, I just, the God of my understanding was persecutory and mean and was angry all the time and was constantly punishing me, and you know what I mean? And so I had to stop believing in this thing that was hurting me, right? And I feel like a lot of people who were raised Catholic, like they still, everyone has a very similar story.
Especially I feel like queer kids who grew up Catholic.
Queer right? Kids of color who grew up Catholic with their crazy ass moms.
Yeah. And here's the thing though. Like how old were you when you had that class about the spirits and the plants?
I think I was 15.
Okay, so you're 15, right? And then I was probably like 13, 14 when I had my little moment, right? So what I've come to realize is like, oh, that's where like I became spiritually stunted, was that age. Right? So like when I finally came into the rooms, I was 30?
Yeah.
But spiritually, I was 13.
Word.
Right?
Yeah.
And that took me a while to realize, because like even like what you were saying, like the God of my understanding, I've come to realize like, oh, the stuff that I did know wasn't a lot. And what I did know wasn't even a God of like my own understanding. It was like someone else's understanding.
That's right. And even, sorry, go ahead.
No, and that's it. I'm just like, I think that was like a big barrier for me in the beginning, getting over.
No, for sure. Me too. It's like, I can remember like I just remember like feeling like God hated me, number one. And number two, that this God that hated me was telling other people to hate me. Right. And like I couldn't stomach that. Like I think I had a moral compass when I was a kid that was telling me like, this is not okay. It is not okay to treat children this way. It's not okay to say these things to people. And so, that was when I look back and that's when I was like, there is no fucking God, a comment about nuns though.
Please.
So of course, like Catholic Church, and, there was this nun who I absolutely love. Her name was, her name was Sister Arena. Aww. Yeah. Sister Arena. Isn't that sweet? And she was the sweetest woman ever. And that is like my one positive memory of the Catholic Church, was this nun who was just loving and supportive. And she was like introducing me to like a loving God, and so maybe she planted a seed early on or something like that. But yeah, so I loved the nuns. Yeah. I love it.
They're sweet. Right?
Yeah. I didn't go to Catholic school, so I don't have like, oh, you went to Catholic school?
No. I remember wishing I did. Cause they get the cute little like outfits and everything.
Oh, God, I wish I would have gone to Catholic school, because being poor and like this is a whole other story, but like having to wear the same clothes or like just all of that stuff was torture growing up. That was the other thing where I was like, there is no God. Why is my family poor? Like I went through that. Although to be fair to my family, like I didn't even know I was poor until I started meeting like wealthy kids in middle school. Right. And by then I was like, oh, then that's when it felt like Adam and Eve in the Garden of Eden, where like I realized that I was poor. I was like, oh shit, I'm embarrassed. Right. Where like at one time I was surrounded by other people.
I have a dumb question.
Yeah, let's hear it.
Do you think we expect things, at least from like Catholic God? Did you think like we grew up expecting things from Catholic God because we also like believed in Santa Claus who would like give us things, and so we're like raised to believe in something?
I thought, my God was like Santa Claus. Well, growing up, it was like, well, if you want something, you should pray for it. And if you don't get it, you're being punished. Right. And so if you're like a young, poor kid and you're not getting things, then of course you feel like you're being punished. Right. God, so fucked up. God. It's just some, I think like a booger just came out of my nose.
Wait, do I get to ask you what your relationship with your higher power is?
You can.
What? Okay. What is it?
What's my relationship to so I think I relate to a lot of what you're saying. Like I absolutely positively love God. I love talking about God. I love I never in a million years thought I would be the kind of person who's like, yeah, let's talk about God. You know what I mean? Yeah. And I'm not opposed to like the different names that God's given. You know what I mean? Like, I think there are great teachings in the Bible when we look for them. And like, so I'm not afraid of like using the word Jesus, and I'm not afraid of like citing other spiritual beliefs. I think there's so many different ways up the same mountain. Right. And so that's my first thing. The first thing I want to say is like, I love God. And I think part of that for me is it's something that I've had to cultivate over time. I can actually tell you the moment when I had the change. So there was this one day I was what?
When you said the change.
I know. I'm like, why did I say that like I'm menopausal?
Dear God, it's me, Anthony.
Dear God. I'm having heat flashes.
Okay, so when you had the change.
So when I had the change. So I don't remember. Okay. I remember what I was doing. So I was riding my bike before it was stolen. An old Catholic me would have thought that's God punishing me, but no, I just lived in Berkeley.
Was it raining that day?
It was raining.
Okay. Well.
Yeah. And I was masturbating at the same time. It was raining. I was masturbating riding my bike. It was Berkeley.
I love it.
So I was riding my bike. It was raining, and I was praying. Right, I was doing the third step prayer, and I was just praying. And at some point, I stopped, and I go, "What the fuck am I even doing?" Like, I'm saying this out loud. I'm like, what the fuck am I even doing? This is so ridiculous. Like, there is no fucking God. Why am I kidding myself? Like, I just started like yelling and riding my bike. And I'm like, oh, I was just so angry. And I'm like, this is fucking ridiculous. And like, it's fucking raining. And like, there's no fucking God. Like, I'm just like so upset, you know? And at some point I stopped and I started laughing, because I think that is the moment I connected with a power greater than myself. It was like the second when I remember I just started laughing, and I felt this like presence and this connection, and I thought, oh, right. And I think the way I came into contact with God was I stopped fucking lying, right? Like, I was doing this thing, and like, I was just kind of like just doing this thing, but like, I wasn't connected to it. And I was just kind of, and then the second I was like, what is this shit? You know, I feel like that is the moment I started to become the person that God had wanted me to become.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah.
I feel like that jogs for me. I don't think I had like that type of like burning bush moment.
Yeah.
But I think my journey with spirituality is kind of similar in the sense that like I felt my higher power. I started to feel my higher power when I started to let go of like the rules specifically, right? The rules of what I thought were there to help me find it, right?
Yeah.
And I think that's when I started to realize kind of the whole like religion versus spirituality thing. I was like, oh, now I feel it, because I'm not worried so much about like all the external stuff.
That's right.
It's the feeling. And I get that feeling much more when I'm not putting these like weird expectations about like, you know, like Yeah.
What just happened to you?
I'm trying to be really conscious of like not coming for like any one religion or just religion in general, because I think that's, like you said, like it's great.
You're allowed to have your opinions.
Okay, yeah. So it's great and it's there for a reason. There's a lot to take from it, right? But so much of like those like external object things, like the cross or the places of worship, that's what makes me think that like I have to do those things in order to feel higher power. And then when I let go of that is when I actually felt it the most.
Right.
And that's my own higher power.
I love that. Yeah. I mean, we're both describing the same thing, that's kind of like releasing and like something. One of our producers is yawning so hard right now. Oh my God. Oh my God. It's so sad. Oh my God. The second I turned over, he's just like big ass yawn.
Maybe that's how he connects with his higher power, is through yawn.
Through Ambien. So one of the things I love what's said in the big book, or in the third step, which is this is actually in the 12 and 12, that like all we need is willingness, right? Like just willing to be willing, right? And that's all it takes, is like this. All you need is like a hole in the armor, even if it's the size of an atom, you know, like just the smallest hole in the armor, and something happens. At least that's been my experience, right? And for me, it was that letting go. You know, it's like that letting go, and then I opened up. You know, one of my Sandy Beach talks about this in one of his talks, R.I.P. Sandy Beach. But he talks about how so many of us, like, they find all these different ways of talking about God and all the different names we give God. And he goes, at some point you realize, oh shit, we're all talking about the same God. Right. That's been my experience today. You know, it's like so for example, like my family is very religious. You know, my family believes in Christ and Christ's teachings and stuff like this. And I listen to them and I'm like, oh, I believe in that same person too. Right. Like, I'm like, I know what you're talking about. And I think that's why in the big book, it says we are wise not to, what is it? It's like, basically like, we are wise to listen to religious people, like not to just kind of reject them wholesale. And it's true, you know, like I think when I let go of my hangups and stuff like that, and I listen to where religious people are right and where I can connect, I'm convinced we're all talking about the same God. Yeah. And Sandy Beach talks about that.
Well, what hangups do you have? I mean, I could talk about some of mine.
My hangups when it comes to, I don't know if it's a hang up so much as it is like a love for LGBT plus people, right? Not to be kind of to do a little political pivot. But I don't know that, like, for example, my partner's parents pretend like I don't exist. Yeah, you do hear that in the cafe. Yeah, it's really loud. Yeah, but so my partner's parents pretend like I don't exist. Like they know I exist, but whenever my name comes up or something like that, they kind of go past it, because they're very religious and like they can't acknowledge that like their son is gay, and you know what I mean, and he's in this relationship. So I can't, that's one of my hangups. One of my hangups is like, I can't, like, that's hard to fuck with. You know what I mean? It's hard for me to get on board with someone who I think is loving the same God that I love, but is choosing this like perspective that is actually quite hurtful. What's really interesting is that this is kind of a longer story, but to keep it brief, for Christmas, she gave my partner this book. It's called Mere Christianity by C.S. Lewis. Do you know it?
I do not, but go on.
Yeah, it's called Mere Christianity. It's by C.S. Lewis. And she also sent it to family friends, right? No, she doesn't know that no one's reading it, but I went and I bought the book and I started reading it because I want to know more about her. I'm like, she recommended this book to people. Like, I want to learn more about her, and I'm going to do it through this book that she recommended people. Okay. Right. And I started reading it, and it's quite a beautiful book. I mean, some of it's kind of problematic, but it's a beautiful book. And then I was like, I'm going to look up C.S. Lewis and to see what his stance is on gay people. And like, I looked it up, and basically what he said is that Christians are hypocritical. And he's like a Christian author, and people love him. Like, people who are Christian love him. And he says that like Christians are hypocritical if they're going to persecute or like they're going to be prejudiced against or discriminate against gay people, because there are all of these different things that basically he says that people are cherry picking from the Bible. And I thought, oh, this is so interesting. I wonder if she knows that she loves this author who has this opinion. You know what I mean? I'm like,
and did you make her aware of it?
No.
Oh, you're saving it for a rainy
No,
day.
I mean, she may think I'm invisible, but I still respect her, you know, like his parents are quite wonderful, you know, just notwithstanding that they are wonderful. They're good people, you know, they just have this thing, and it's hard for me to get behind that. How about you? What's your hang up?
I think my hang up is actually not the most original, but like, I think one of my defaults is always like, believing in a higher power is uncool, right?
Oh yeah.
I think there's that one. And then this is a me thing, but it's definitely something, and maybe it's the meetings that I go to, or the little bubble that I'm in. But I feel like sometimes like it's like we're too cool for school to talk about God, higher powers.
I know exactly what you're talking about. Yep.
And then when you do, then I feel like I immediately see like the lights go off. It's just like nobody wants to talk about it. And so I think like even this is probably the longest I've ever talked to any one given person about this type of thing. Because like in a room full of like, I'll say younger people, I hate bringing it up. Cause
Can I tell you my opinion on this? I think this is why I think this happens, because it's especially true like in gay recovery circles. Like a lot of at least gay men that I know, like they don't really like talking about God, or it's like, and I think it's for the reasons that we were talking about earlier, which is like, who is going to voluntarily, oh, excuse me, did I just burp into the mic? I think I did this shit last week, but who is going to voluntarily love or look to or praise this thing that they've been told hates them all their life, right? So it's like very dangerous territory, number one, I think, for a lot of people. And then number two, it is insanely personal, right? It's like, and so that's what I think happens. You know what I mean? It becomes like uncool, or, you know, but if people are working the steps, like I have to believe they have some conception of a power that's greater than themselves.
Yeah, no, I think for me, like I almost feel like it kind of, I think maybe you were saying it too, but like, I think maybe it triggers like, oh, this person believes in something that like is hateful. Therefore, like I can't be their friend. Like,
have you ever been at a gay meeting where they do the Our Father?
Yeah, no.
I know. Like you can see everyone go, everyone like
they tense up.
Everyone tenses up.
I'll be honest, I tense up, but not because of that. I just don't know it in English. I know it in Spanish. Because it was ingrained by my parents.
I know the Hail Mary in Spanish. Wait, what's the Our Father?
I feel like you have to do.
How does the Our Father start? What's just the first
in Spanish?
Yeah,
Padre Nuestro.
Oh yeah, I do know it. Padre Nuestro que estás en el cielo, santificado sea tu nombre. Yeah.
I guess we are calling the four corners.
And then, do you know the Hail Mary?
I don't.
Dios te salve María, llena de gracia.
I was a good kid. I didn't need to know the Hail Mary. Okay.
Not a Catholic read.
No, that was a you read. That was a you read. No, but I think going back to the whole thing, I think sometimes I kind of just like, I just want to shake people and be like, I swear when I talk about like higher power, it's not about the one that you hate. But also at the same time, I'm like, I'm also not in charge of educating you. Like, you'll get there. You'll get there. It takes time. I don't know.
You know, one of the things I've believed for a really long time is that God has had horrible PR people. You know what I mean? Because let me just have a moment here. Like, the God of my understanding is so life-giving, is so precious, is so like, just blah, you know, it's just so wonderful. And when I'm in touch with God, like life is just so perfect. It doesn't matter what I'm doing. I could be sitting in a pile of shit and I'm like, thank you, God. Right. And when I get in touch with that, like I think, oh, this is why there are people who are fanatical. Maybe they also have this experience and they are they want people so bad to have this particular experience. And this is where like I feel like God has bad PR people. You know what I mean? It's like people who, you know, they believe in they do have these experiences, but they just go about kind of communicating these messages in ways that are just inaccessible and alienating.
Yeah. Well, that's what I love about spirituality, right? Because it's like, you have your own and you're guided by your own set of like inward principles. And because of that, like you carry yourself in like this way that is attractive, right? And because of that, I'm like, oh, cool. So this is nice for you. So that's working, right? As opposed to like the opposite, which is just being told that it works. It's just like, no, I see it work because like, I see how you live your life and that's really cool. And that's what I want to do.
Yeah. I mean, that's a very Quaker principle, right?
Which one?
A very Quaker principle is like not to evangelize, but to live attraction, not promotion, right? Is that like, if you believe in this thing and this thing that you believe in, you know, like makes you emanate whatever, you know, then that is your evangelizing. Like living a good life is your evangelizing. And I think when we talk about the 12 steps in AA, for example, we say attraction, not promotion. It's the same idea, right? Like if you're living a good life, right? And you come across someone who's sick and suffering with like substance addictions or process addictions or whatever, and they ask you like, why do you sound and look the way you do? Like, why is your life so good? Right? Like, I think that is one of the ways that we can be of service, right? Like that is one of the ways that I think spirituality exists for me. You know, I am so, for example, like very touched that I have sponsees, you know, that like I get to impart something that someone wants to hear the shit that I think, you know, and I never feel more connected to God than when I'm working with a sponsee or if I'm working with clients, right? When I'm connecting with other people, because I feel in like those moments, I'm like, yes, this is why I'm here. You know, how did we get here? I don't know.
And it's funny too, because and I'm not being contrarian. I feel like I feel my higher power the most when I'm by myself.
Are you going through the change?
No. It's definitely like when I'm like out in nature and like I see like.
I mean, I had that experience too.
Okay.
Yeah. So I guess for context, like I feel very fortunate in that, like, I know what my life's purpose is. I feel very fortunate in that way. And I feel like very blessed in that, like, what I am called to do is work with other people. And my evidence that this is my life's purpose is that, because that's when I feel the most like connected and whole. Like, I feel like, you know, like, as you know, like I'm a therapist. And so there's just something that comes over me when I'm working with other people. Like words are coming from places that I don't know. I mean, this sounds really woo woo, but it's true. It's like whenever I'm working with a client, like I'm saying things and I'm like, where is that coming from? You know, or someone always said, like, I've been told, like, Anthony, like, you always know the thing to say, or like just being around you whenever I did blah, blah. And I can't take credit for that shit. Like, because my default setting is actually quite angry. You know what I mean? Like, if I were relying on myself, I would be not a very nice person, right? Like my default setting is to be by myself, to fucking tell people to go fuck themselves. Like go do all your weird shit somewhere else. Right. But that's just not what comes over me when I'm like in the company of someone who's sick and suffering or who is seeking like my advice or whatever. Like, and I think, so anyway, I'll end by saying that, and I feel very fortunate. Like, I'm like, oh, God has chosen to use me in this way. This is the way, like, I get to do this thing on earth because I can't take credit for it. You know what I mean? And for other people, that's art. And for other people, that's something else, you know? How about you? What do you think yours is?
My purpose?
Yeah.
Oh, gosh. Such a deep question.
Okay, maybe. Okay.
No. Okay. I think it's similar vein of like just to leave things better than you found them. Yeah. Right. And I think when I say that, it's less about like the world. I mean, obviously, like I love nature, but Obviously, I love nature, but I mean, just like in general, just like I'm hoping that like aren't like when I interact with someone that like afterwards it was a good experience versus a bad experience, right? Because I do honestly feel like I'm on borrowed time. I truly feel like anything after Straight like my rock bottom is like do you remember those old Goosebump books, like the Choose Your Own Adventures?
Oh my God, R.L. Stein.
Okay, so do you remember when you would be like, oh, go into the mummy's tomb?
Choose Your Own Adventure.
Right, and so you're like, okay, well, turn to this page, but you don't let go of the old page. You're like, oh, I didn't actually go there, so I didn't die. So that's how I feel, where I'm like, oh, I got to see what was coming, and then, but I got to turn the page back to where I was before.
I have...
That's so stupid.
No, you know what's crazy about you bringing up Goosebumps is that my childhood friend, may he rest in peace, Raymond Soto, introduced me to R.L. Stein, and he died while in middle school. So it just feels really like, ooh.
Oh my God. Oh, I'm sorry.
No. That's just really cool. I have like such a fond memory of Goosebumps.
Yeah. So with the borrowed time, it's just like to use it like to be a productive member of society, which sounds like so. Like,
can I tell you a
cliche.
secret? Can I tell you the secret around like human, like purpose?
Okay.
I think we all have the same purpose.
Yeah.
It's like, I think this is just my opinion, but I think that the purpose for life, like the reason why we're on earth is to connect, right? Like that is the fundamental kind of purpose. And the way we connect, that's where things start to kind of like look a little different for everyone, you know? And I think, and then my last thought around that is that I also think that sober people are very special. And the reason why that is because I'm a firm believer that many of us should have died a long time ago. Many of us should be like locked up, you know, like
names. Do you want to say names?
The producer that yawns and is playing a game while we're like, but you know, like so many of us,
we're afforded a very special opportunity.
Like actually,
we really are.
And but like actually,
not only are we given just a second life, period, but I feel with that second life, we're actually given like the tools, right? And like it's so weird that like step 11, I love step 11.
Me too, yeah.
And it comes so late. It's literally the penultimate step, right? Because it takes 10 fucking... Oops, sorry. It takes 10 fucking steps for us to get out of our own way.
Yeah.
So like you said, like we're all here for the same purpose. And I kind of agree with you.
Yeah.
But it's not until we get to 11 after we've gone out of our own bullshit that I can actually listen to how my higher power wants me to like execute.
Of course, yeah.
Right? And I think that's where the practicality
Very
comes.
Nice. Yeah.
Which is what I need. I'm like a human. I need to know what you need me to do.
Yeah.
And it's not until like I get through all my own fucking like all the garbage up here that I can actually listen.
Absolutely. Yeah. There was one other thing that sober people, that's very beautiful. Thank you. What I was also thinking of was, like if you think about people in recovery, like in recovery spaces and think about the people who like, they do the work, you know, like they do the step work and like every single last one of them has an extraordinary life. Everyone. You know what I mean? Like you have people who are discovering talents. You have people living out their talents. You have people who are like impacting their families in positive ways. You have people who like are inspiring people and they have no idea that they're inspiring people, right? Like there is just this very magical thing that happens when people get sober and they do the work. And I'm also like one of these people that believes like that the 12 steps are divinely inspired. Of course, we are not a 12-step podcast, although we talk about it a lot. But I do think that the 12 steps are divinely inspired. And one of the things that my sponsor said to me very early on was the steps are just there to clear the path between you and God, right? And what happens after that is amazing, right? But you have to clear that path, right? And yeah, so we have to start landing the plane.
You know I can't.
Okay, I'll start. Well, first off, thank you. We're going to continue talking for the podcast. The podcast.
Okay, Sally, do this. Yeah, let's find this plane.
So the Castro Country Club is a safe and sober community center for all people, and a refuge for the LGBT recovery community. You want to read that one?
We provide programs and services that help people change their lives by supporting personal growth. I do.
Very nice. Our vision is to reduce the suffering of addiction by connecting people, community. What is up with me today? We're going to do this all over again. Our vision is to reduce the suffering of addiction by connecting people to community, opportunity, and support. You can find more information, including all the ways to contact us, at www.castrocountryclub.org/podcasts. Tune in every Tuesday at 4 p.m. Pacific Standard Time when we go live on our Castro Country Club Facebook and YouTube channels. Find us wherever you listen to podcasts.
Do we keep talking?
Can we talk now? Brandon literally said, I'm going to close this. How was that? We're still recording, so this is the stuff that goes.
Yeah.
Thank you, Justin.
Bloopers?
Thank you.
Should we do bloopers?
No. Well, bloopers. We started with all bloopers. Thank you.
You know who has the best bloopers?
Who?
Rush Hour 2.
Oh, I haven't seen those.
Rush Hour 2 has the best bloopers you will ever see in a movie.
Rush Hour. That's with Chris Rock.
Chris
Right?
Tucker.
Chris Tucker.
We got you on camera.
Canceled. Yeah, so we're still recording, just so you know.
Okay.
Oh, okay, yeah. So
hot mic.
There was this one time I was on here and I was like just talking shit, and Brandon goes, "Anthony, the mic is on."
Oh my god.
And I was like, and another thing.
Was it about a person? Or was
Yeah.
It, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it wasn't horrible, and I didn't say anything kind of crazy, or that he doesn't know about himself.
Oh.
No. It's a good friend of both of ours. I'll
Speak
tell
for
you.
yourself.
Yeah.
Speak for yourself.
How was that for you?
It's stressful.
Was it stressful?
Well, I don't know.
Tell me what made it stressful.
No, I don't know. I mean,
You were great.
Shut up. No, I think stressful is my default answer to just anytime anyone asks me how anything was. Because my mind immediately goes, it could have been better. And it could be anything.
What are you talking about? You were one of the better guests.
You're such a liar.
No, I'm not. We haven't had many guests.
Oh. Like in 2024, you are in the top
You are the
3.
best 2024. Actually.
Am I no, I'm not.
No. We had one other one. So actually this season is we're gonna have so many guests. It's so much fun. Many. So many, like every day.
Who was the first guest?
Anka. Do you know Anka?
I don't think I do.
Oh, I adore her. Yeah, Anka. She did this great. We had her on because she did this great coverage of the mind-body connection with like trauma and stuff. She did like her own podcast thing, and so we had her on and talk about that, and that was fantastic. Lovely. Yeah, now you're here, so that's really nice. We're gonna have Bernadette. Do you know Bernadette? She'll be on next week, I think. So yeah, we have a lot of it. Linda, we have a drag month. Do you want to know the things we're doing? So this month is mind body, so spirituality, Avi. Avi. And then next month is Dragon Recovery. And then the month after that, we're doing drugs and recovery. So prescription meds, ketamine, ayahuasca, weed maintenance. So we're having those conversations. And then the last month, which I'm super excited about, is criminal redemption. So people who are at different phases of navigating the judicial system while being in recovery. So we have people who are like, have bench warrants out for their arrest, and people who have been pardoned by former presidents. So yeah, I'm really excited.
Yeah. Where do you lie on that spectrum?
With criminal redemption? Yeah. I've been thinking about that a lot recently. Well, because in my family, most of the men in my family have criminal records. Like when I was a kid, my dad was in prison. So was my uncle, a few of my aunts, like everyone had done time basically. And so looking back, I'm like, it is by the grace of God that I didn't end up in jail. And that isn't to say that like, I was like I didn't do anything questionable. Like there were definitely times where I, thank God I didn't hurt myself or anyone else, like when I was driving drunk, you know what I mean? So yeah, so that's where I fall. I'm lucky. I'm really lucky. How about you? Do you have any warrants out for your arrest?
Not yet. From your lips to God's ears. No, I think I was a fairly goody two shoes. And then when I drank, the driving thing, that was like my one rule. I will never.
Oh, so you never drunk drive?
Well, I did.
Oh, it was my run rule, and I broke it every time.
I broke it one time because my car got broken into here in the Castro, and I was like, I can't leave my car here like this. So I took it home. They took my big Harvey, 90-day supply.
Oh, they're your big Tarvey?
That's what
they probably thought they were gonna fucking get high. They probably thought it was like something good, or maybe it was someone who needed HIV meds, and you just saved a life.
Ugh, I guess. But no, that was the only time. Could you imagine me in prison?
Being in prison?
Yeah.
Yo, no.
No?
I know I can't. I mean,
Do you think somebody would like claim me?
You? Yeah. Oh yeah, you're like cute and short. Oh, for sure. Hands down, they're gonna pass you around.
Not just the hands.
You know, my understanding is that when you're in prison or jail, like you can develop community around a skill.
Like whittling? Like what do you mean?
Like if you're an attorney and you're in jail, like people are gonna want to talk to you.
Oh, okay.
Right? Like, right?
Oh, so you would come at it from like a recovery angle.
Yeah, like I think if I was in prison, God forbid, whatever. But if I was I would like I would do therapy in prison. Like I would help inmates out. You know what? That would be fantastic.
I wonder what I would be able to offer.
You know what you would be.
But that's for me. I mean for them.
What would I do for them? But this was really nice. This was a really nice conversation. I'm so glad that like you brought up the stuff that we talked about before we were on air, that about like how it being, you know, spirituality or God being something that's really personal, etc.
Yeah.
Any closing thoughts?
I don't know. I'm just a blank slate. My higher power.
Oh my God, I'm just a vessel. Oh, that was so good. All right. So thank you again for coming on.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, you're so welcome. And if you're listening and you've listened this far, we love you. If you're new to the podcast, thank you for joining us. Come back, tell a friend, comment, like, subscribe, and that's it. Bye.